If you're like me and you love setting beautiful tablescapes in your home, chances are you probably have some of these. Yes, these plastic or melamine, I don't know what they're called, but you know what these are? These are these inexpensive chargers that you can get at dollar stores. In today's video, one of the projects that I'm going to be doing is giving these a makeover. You won't believe how they turned out. Hey there, my name is Yami. I am your Latina next door. Welcome back to Mi Casa, where I share high-end home decor and DIYs on a budget, as well as extreme before and after room transformations. If that's something you enjoy, please make sure to subscribe so that you too can become part of the familia. Before we get started with this week's video, the Look for Less challenge is back again this month, and I have the invitation at the end of this video. So make sure to stick to the end to get all the details if you want to join in this month. So for today's video, I wanted to tackle a couple of things that I've been wanting to do for a little bit. I just hadn't had the chance to do it, and I was finally able to take a break and get them completed. So that is what we are doing today. We'll get to those chargers in just a minute. However, first I wanted to share this storage bench that I had purchased for my son a few weeks ago. I bought it off Facebook Marketplace, and to be honest, it actually looked a little bit better in the pictures than when I picked it up. But I was determined to make this look good and function for my son's room. Now, because I had envisioned painting this a lighter color, I knew I wanted to prevent some bleed through off the bat, so I decided to use Salvation Solution, which acts as a primer. Now, most of the time when you're painting with DIY paint, you don't really need a primer. However, since this was a pretty old chest and a lot of the finish had worn off, so it was kind of bare wood, I wanted to make sure I covered up any old stains or knots that might seep through my lighter color. Now, I did pour the primer into a bowl before applying it on the piece of furniture, and the reason I did that was because if there was indeed any kind of staining or bleed through that's going to come off onto the paint, I wanted to make sure that I didn't put it back into the can where I was holding the primer. So that's just a quick tip if you ever have to do anything like this. And for this, I just used an inexpensive flat synthetic brush that I had on hand, and I tried to work with the grain of the wood, going back and forth in long strokes and trying to keep brush strokes at a minimum. At first I had thought that I was going to paint the piece white, and then I kind of thought about it. Since it's going to be in my son's room, I figured white might not be the best thing if he's going to be getting his toys in and out of it all the time. So I figured, okay, let's do something a little different, and I decided to try Faded Burlap by DIY Paint. So I began to paint the piece with Faded Burlap, and I just used an inexpensive brush to apply this on, trying to get everything in the little crevices. Now, if I can find the link to this brush, I'll link it in the description box below. It's very inexpensive. It's not any kind of high-end brush, which I probably need to invest in a new brush, but for right now, this one works just fine. Now, if you're not familiar with DIY paint, it does tend to lighten up quite a bit once it's dried, but after you apply the top coat, whether it's Big Top or your clear wax, it does deepen and darken that back up to its rich color. I'm only going to be painting the exterior of the storage bench. I won't need to paint the inside as it's not necessary, and it was in pretty decent condition on the inside. As a matter of fact, the woman I bought this from said that her son used this to keep his toys when he was younger, but he has outgrown it now. So as you see, I gave everything one coat of paint and then I let it dry. And then once it was dry, I did the second coat. And I did everything in the exact same manner. And what you see me doing here is using a little spray bottle to kind of get the paint to flow a little bit smoother onto the surface. It really does help if you spray your brush. And I'll link this bottle in the description box below if you've been looking for something like this. The one thing you will notice is that I do not end up painting the lid of the bench with this color, I decided after the fact that I was going to upholster it. I had originally thought about painting it all one color and then just creating a cushion to put on top of the bench, but then after thinking, I thought it might be better if I just upholstered the top and put the fabric and foam directly on the top, so I didn't need to actually paint the lid of the bench. Now once both coats were dry, I got my clear wax for this and a brush, and I began to apply it all over. As you can see, it automatically deepens the color back to the original wet look. Now it may look a little splotchy here and there, but what you do is you add this on and let it sit overnight, and the following morning you buff it out with a lint-free cloth, and you'll see everything will get nice and even and your finish will just be so smooth. And so this is the following day, and as you can see, I'm just taking a small rag from an old t-shirt and I am buffing everything around just to give it that nice buffed finished feel. Next, it was off to do the seat cushion, and I'm using this poly foam that I purchased at Hobby Lobby. Now it's only the thinner 1-inch foam, but I did that on purpose. So Hobby Lobby has this poly foam, and it has it in two options. The first one is this 2-inch size, and it's regularly $50, but it goes on sale for $34.99. However, they do have this 1-inch option that's $29, but it goes on sale for $21. I had previously measured the size of the bench, and I realized that I can double this up and make it thicker and not have to spend the $35, so that's what I did. So I made sure to cut 2 pieces flush with the top of the bench, and then I use spray adhesive to attach the first one down onto the top of that lid. Once the first one was down, I applied spray adhesive to that one and placed the second one right on top. Next, I had this large piece of felt that I figured would be perfect for batting, so I just draped it over and trimmed it down to where I needed it. I had bought this white and blue fabric at Hobby Lobby as well when I bought the poly foam, and I did the same thing to this. Now at first I lifted the lid up and I stapled down the fabric exactly where I wanted to. Now I know I will have to remove this, and I did before I finished upholstering the rest of the top, but I wanted to make sure that those lines remain straight. So I went ahead and double checked them, making sure they were straight, and I attached the front lip down as you see me doing here, and then I removed it. Or my husband did. I placed the top of the bench on the ground upside down, and I proceeded to do the rest of the upholstery. You know, it had been a really long time since I upholstered anything, and I forgot how much fun this was. I really miss doing this. And if you haven't done much of this, always know that whenever you do a piece like this, when you pull your fabric over to the other side, you always start stapling in the middle and then work your way outwards. Then of course you leave your corners for last. After I stapled everything down, I began to trim off the excess fabric and then also apply a few more staples where I thought it needed it. I may have gone a little bit overkill on the staples, but I wanted to make sure that it stayed put. After I was done, it was time to put the lid back on, and here is how my son's toy chest finally turned out. Alright, so for these chargers, again, you'll need something that you probably already have on hand and you haven't even used these in a while. I bought these for last Christmas and I never used it. So I figured, you know what, I'm going to do something that's going to make me use them because it's going to turn out so amazing. So the first thing I did was get some white swan. I've used this a couple times and I'm excited to use it here. Now, all of the paints that I'm using in this video can be found on my online shop as I am a retailer of DIY paint. DIY paint is a highly pigmented clay-based paint and it's made out of non-toxic ingredients, and that size that you see right there that I'm using is a sample size, so you get quite a bit of paint just by purchasing the sample. Now, if you wish to find out more about these paints as well as all of the colors available, simply go to my website www.thelatinanextdoor.com, select the menu above and hit DIY paints. Then you'll see all of the colors available on my website right now. We have several sizes and colors available to you and ready to ship. I'll leave the link in the description box below. As you can see, DIY paint sticks directly on any surface, even one slick like this. Now, because this is the color white and it's going on a darker surface, you will need more than one coat. I did about 2.5, so I did 2 full coats and then I kind of touched up little pieces here and there that would kind of come out and look a little bit different than the rest. But I really wanted it to be a nice white solid background for this. Now, once I was happy with my chargers and they were completely dry, I brought out some IOD transfer sheets. Oh my gosh, look at this. I am so excited. I can't wait to show you. And this set comes with 8 of these sheets, which was perfect because I have 8 places on my table and I had 8 chargers, so it worked out perfectly. I cut off the excess when I placed it on the charger, and as you can see, the charger is actually a little bit wider than the transfer sheet itself. But the good thing is that you can cut little images that are remaining off of the transfer sheet and you can add them in certain areas where you don't have any more print, and it'll look like it was always that way. So as you can see here, I'm laying it down. And then once I'm good with the placement, I push it down with my hand and then get their little plastic spatula that comes in with the pack and began to rub the images off from the plastic and onto my charger. Now, do not be afraid to get in there and make sure you apply nice even pressure when using these. It does an amazing job of transferring this image onto your surface, and the great thing is that it will stay up on the outer edges as you see there, and once you start applying pressure on those and start rubbing those, they'll form onto your charger. Now, this is something that you should take your Now this is something that requires a lot of patience, especially when you're doing 8 of these. So make sure you have something that you're listening to or a favorite show in the background so that you can be entertained during this time. What's quite amusing is that when I was working on this, I was thinking to myself, back in the day when I was in my early 20s, I probably would have looked at print like this and thought, wow, this is probably something that goes in an old lady's house. However, the older I get, the more I appreciate and really like this type of stuff. So the question here is, am I getting old? Or did old ladies back then have a keen sense of home design and what is truly classic? I'd like to think it's the latter. Alright, once all of my transfers were on, I got some big top. Again, this is also from the DIY paint line. And I'm going to be using this to seal my chargers. And the reason I'm picking this is because I want something that's adorable, especially since these are going to be chargers and they're going to be used at a dining room table. I want them to be able to withstand a little bit of wear and tear. And this has a more slick finish and it is highly wipeable. So if I get any food on it, I'll be able to wipe it right off without damaging the finish. Application is easy. You simply apply it on your surface with a brush and then you let it dry. Again, I'll make sure to have all the links to these products in the description box, and I'll also make sure to include a link to Iron Orchid Designs where you can find a retailer that sells these transfer sheets near you. And of course, once these were dried, this is how they turned out. For this next DIY, this one is really simple. And the reason I needed to do this was because I still have my winter wreath up on my front door. Maybe if I take that off, some spring weather will come. So I had this little basket that I bought at a local Goodwill a while ago, and I believe I got it for only 99 cents. Now I love the shape and it's in really good condition, but I didn't really like the red and darker wicker colors, so I'm going to paint over those. Now the first thing I did was take a damp cloth and wipe everything thoroughly, making sure there was no dust on the wicker basket. And then I got out my gypsy green, which you all know has been the green that I have used over and over again in my DIYs this year. And so using a very small artist brush, I began to paint on the new color over the existing wicker little pieces that were exposed. So I decided to do 2 of the stripes in green, and then I chose to do the red stripe in white swan. Once the paint was dry, I actually took some of the clear wax and applied it on the entire basket. This deepened the color of the wicker basket and kind of brought it new life, honestly. It looked like it was a brand new basket after I applied the wax. And of course, not only did it condition it, deepen the color, but it will protect it, especially since it's going to go on my front door. Then literally what I did was break down an old arrangement that I had created last spring and just reused the florals in this little basket. And honestly, this is a wonderful way to change up your decor and recreate new things using items that you already have by pulling apart this arrangement and placing it somewhere else in a different manner. I can reuse these florals and give my space a fresh new look without spending any money at all, and no one would even know. And that's basically all there is to it for this one. And now I have something really sweet in time for spring that cost me pretty much nothing because I already had everything around. Well, that is it for this week's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of these projects. All right, and for those of you who want the details on this month's Look for Less challenge, here they are. Now, if you're not familiar with the Look for Less challenge, it is where I invite you to recreate something from a high-end home decor store, but you have to do it for a whole lot less. I am currently hosting this challenge every other month. Our previous one was in January. If you haven't checked that out, please make sure to do so. I will leave a link in the description box below so you can catch up and check it out. This is open to any of you who would like to recreate something and share it here on YouTube. However, if you wish to join, there are a few rules, and here they are. Rule number 1. You have 2 weeks to complete the challenge. Projects and videos are due Wednesday, March 23rd at 10 a.m. That's 2 weeks from today, Wednesday, March 23rd at 10 a.m. Rule number 2. Make sure to mention the host of the challenge, which is myself, Yami, the Latina next door, in your video. And make sure to share the playlist link for the Look for Less challenge in your description box. I will share that link once my video goes live. And that's the link that you will be able to add your videos to. And it's also the link where everyone else can see and watch everybody's videos. And now, if you don't have a YouTube channel, but you still wish to try something, you can always tag me on Instagram and make sure you guys use the hashtag #LookForLessChallenge. Rule number 3, the item has to be a home decor piece, and it could be as little as a napkin ring or as big as a piece of furniture. That one's up to you. Rule number 4, and perhaps the most important, we want to see your original inspiration piece alongside the one that you recreated because we want to see how well you did and how much you saved. And that's it. I'm excited to be bringing it back again this month. We had a great first round in January this year, and I cannot wait to see what you all end up creating this month as well. I hope you all are doing great. In the meantime, you can watch some more videos of mine right over here, and I will see you guys next week with another home decor and DIY video. Until then, adios.